field. This is the extra bonus room that we have over our garage now. One of the big benefits of the fire. Carpenter Jesus remodeled our house and gave us 2 new rooms, an office and this room, in case my mother ever needs to come live with us. So that's where I am this week. And we're going to start sitting in Sukhasana on the floor. If you want to grab a block, you may like that for later. Have that off on the side. Today we're going to be talking about fear and moving out of the way fear gets stuck in the body into a more open and responsive template in the body, if you will. So I watched a video recently by Katie and Guy Hendricks that talked about fear melters, and you should have this paper to hang up on the wall in our yoga area. But the 4 kinds of fear are fight fear, flee fear, freeze fear, and faint fear. And so fight fear is kind of like real rigid and strong and resistant, kind of an attitude of bring it on, I can handle this. It looks like anger, but what it really is a variety of fear that's about fighting. So just think of that for fight fear. Then there's flee fear, which is, see how I'm welting and retreating. So my shoulders moving back, I'm shifting backwards, I'm withdrawing, looking for the door and a way to escape. Then there's freeze fear, which is immobilized, can't do anything. The hands up in resistance, not wanting that thing to get close. And then there's faint fear, which just feels like a powerless response to whatever it is that's scaring you, that all your power and strength have drained out and they're just in a puddle on the floor beneath you. So when we have fight fear in the body, one of the ways we can release that rigid muscular stance is by oozing. So going all melty and loose and liquid instead of hard. And when we have that flee fear that just wants to run out the back door, we go to sumoing. So if you can picture a sumo wrestler, down close to the ground and just like a mountain, just immovable strength. And then the opposite of freeze is just wiggling, putting a little bit of shake and wiggle just to break the ice and get out of that rigidity. And then the opposite of that faint fear is love scooping, drawing in all the strength that's around you, the love of God, the support of the people around you, and all the supports in your life so that you can bear up under what you're facing. So we're going to do little postures today that go through all those responses. We can do oozing and sumoing and shaking and scooping. So we're going to start with that fight fear by doing a squeeze and release. So we're going to come down onto the back. Whew. And if the low back feels a little squinchy when you come into Shavasana, you can bring the soles of the feet to the edge of the mat and let the knees fall in. Make sure there's a little space under the low back and shrug the shoulder blades flat onto the back, palms up. Close the eyes. And we'll just bring some tightness into the hands. So squeeze into fists. And maybe when they get as tight as they can, you're pressing the wrists down into the floor. You even hold the breath. And then, let it go. And think of the hands just melting and oozing. Releasing all that tension. And then we'll bring that fight fear tension up into the elbows and shoulders and upper chest, lifting off the ground, and squeeze it all in. And hold the breath when you're squeezing it as tight as you can. And then release and melt. Oozing out that tension.
from that fight fear. Then we'll come up to the face and squeeze and pinch all the features together. Squeeze the chin back into the neck. Make the neck tense. Hold the breath and squeeze some more tension. And then release. Oozing out all that fight fear. Getting melty and liquid in the muscles. And then squeeze the shoulders up towards the ears, getting tense in the shoulder and the upper back and the upper chest. And hold the breath and melt it down. Feeling the warmth of those melting muscles as they just rest back into the floor. And then we're going to tighten through the core. So tighten the belly, lifting the tailbone, squeezing through the chest, bringing lots of tension through the core, and even holding your breath at the top. And release. Letting everything melt back down. Enjoying that liquid sensation in the muscles when the tension is released. And then we're going to squeeze the hips and the buttocks and the thighs and even press the knees into each other or down into the floor. Just bringing that maximum tension into the hips and gluteal muscles. Holding the breath at the peak of tension and then release. Melting and oozing away all that fight fear. And then squeezing through the toes and the feet and pressing the heels down and bringing some tension into the shins and the calf muscles. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Holding the breath and then release. Big breath through the nose. Sigh through the mouth. Just feeling how good it is to let go of that tightness and tension and bring that oozy nature into the body. How much more freedom we have. Now we're gonna rock up. So draw the knees into the chest and rock up. Maybe 3 rock and rolls, and then we'll come up into a squat. I'm gonna turn. So this is our sumo posture for dealing with flea fear. And so really feel rooted down into the feet. They're wider than the hips. The knees are over the toes. So we're not tipping forward, we're tipping back, feeling immovable. If you're having a hard time getting your heels down, that's where blocks can come in. Those shorter blocks can go under there or even under you, and you can sit if your ankles are having a little bit of a hard time with this. And we'll just come into a squat for a moment. Pause here. I'm going to remove the block. You can even stay on your toes a little bit if that feels better for you. And we'll just start to feel grounded in this squat. So feel the tailbone reaching down towards the earth, and then up through the plumb line of the spine and through the crown of the head, that long column of strength and solidity, not so easily knocked down. And now we're going to bring some movement into our sumo squat here. We're going to just start lifting one heel, then the other. Maybe coordinate it with the breath. Inhale up, exhale down. ankles crack. And back to center. And now we're going to lift the hips up. So lifting the hips up to knee height and exhale back down. And feel that like arriving back at that grounded, centered place. And inhale up and exhale down. Inhale up and exhale down. Feeling how grounded and solid we feel in this posture. Not feeling like running away anymore. And inhale up one more time. And exhale down. Whew. All right. Now we're going to go back to that lifting the heel, but this time we're also going to swing the hips. So get a little more fluid action in our sumo. We're not running away. We can stay. I always say to my kids, the opposite of fight or flight is stay and pray. Here we have our little hands in our Anjali Mudra. And we're staying low and solid in sumo to get rid of our flee fear. And then here's a little fun one. This is a little gorilla move. So we're gonna bring the hands over, take a little hop, move the hands again, take a little hop. Maybe there's more of a frog hop for you. We'll just move it back and forth, swinging the hips, staying low. Woo! And then coming back into a squat wherever you are and swinging the hips again. Swing and turn. And pause, bringing the knees over the toes. Maybe you can get a little lower now and don't need the block to stay. Maybe your heels can reach a little more to the floor, or not. And then bonk, sit back down, cross the legs. We're gonna move into a little shaking to get rid of our freeze fear. Have to move these out of the way a little bit. All right, so first just start wiggling the hips. Get a little shake. Maybe a little smile. And then we can start to shake the shoulders, shake the fingers, maybe shake the head. Maybe you naturally want to start making little noises. I'm going to stretch my legs out long. We'll bring that shake down into the legs, so flopping the feet in and out. Whew. And then getting the upper body into it again. Maybe the arms come up. As I was looking for how to create this class, I bumped into a lot of things called tremoring for trauma. So getting the muscles to quiver and shake is a nice way to release fear and past trauma. And release. Let's just pause and feel the effects of that in the body for a moment. Feel that release of tension. That kind of looseness and openness through the chest and the heart. We're not frozen in fear anymore. You can shake out of it. And our last one is for faint fear. Love scooping. So we're going to stretch the legs out wide for Upavishta Konasana. So you can place the hands on the side of you, lift the hips up off the floor, move the hips back a little bit to get that tilt in the pelvis. The toes are up, the knees are facing the ceiling. And we're going to think about scooping in all the resources and love that we have right into our heart. And I have here the words from the breastplate of St. Patrick. And we'll be meditating on the strength that we have available to us. I rise today through the strength of heaven, to scoop it all up and in. Light of the sun, splendor of fire, swiftness of wind, drawing that all in. Depth of the sea, scoop it in. Solidity of the earth, firmness of rock. I rise today through the strength of God to pilot me. Lean over the right leg. I rise today through God's might to uphold me. Lean to the left. I rise today through God's wisdom to guide me. Over to the right. I rise today, God's hand near to guard me. Afar and near, alone or in multitude. Christ shield me today. Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ within me. I rise today through the mighty strength of the Lord of creation. Love scooping. You feel like fainting anymore? It's a good solution. And now you can grab onto knees behind so that you can come into Tadasana. We're going to come to the front of our mat. And establish that Tadasana. The feet as wide as the hip points, outer edges of the feet parallel. You can lift the toes and spread them, lift the kneecaps, hips back. So there's that nice arch in the low back. Lift the shoulders, scoop them back. You can even face the palms out, which helps widen across the collarbone. And then ears over the shoulders. And inhale, sweep up. And exhale, fold. We're going to do some more oozing. So first, put a little bend in the knees. Crown of the head reaches towards the floor. And then inhale. When you come up halfway, lower the hips down. Knees are as wide as the ankles. Scoop the tailbone a little bit to protect the low back. Sweep the arms up, gaze up for chair pose. Feel that tension that feels like fight fear. And then exhale, bow. And let this be the ooze moment of exhale it all out. And then inhale, sweep it up. Palms together at the heart, sighing out any residual tension. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, bow, oozing it down. Knees may need to bend or not as much anymore. Inhale, come up halfway as you drop the seat. Tuck the tail and reach up. Chair pose. Staying loose in the neck and the shoulders, even though we're strong in the legs. Exhale, bow. Inhale. Come up all the way. And palms together at the heart. think I did that a little funny. We'll try and do it right on this third time, right? We're being oozy though and relaxed. Inhale, sweep it up. Exhale down. Inhale, come up halfway, drop the seat, curve in that low belly. Come up, chair pose. See if you can do this without holding the breath. And then exhale down. And inhale, sweep it up. And exhale, palms to the heart. We're gonna come into Uttanasana with the feet as wide as the mat. So outer edges of the feet on the mat and fold. And we're going to reach around to the back of the ankles and just putting a little tension there to pull in. But if you're feeling any strain in the low back, put a little more bend in the knees. It can be a micro bend, like this is me hyperextending, this is me bending an inch. May not have to put much in there. If you're feeling the belly kind of getting in the way of this fold, you can reach up and widen from the midline off to the sides. We're trying to go wide through the core to make space. We're going to rest in Uttanasana, thinking of oozing. So releasing through the crown of the head. Maybe using that sigh on the exhale to release tension. Then we're going to reach both hands over to the right ankle, but we're not twisting in the core. We're just coming more over that right leg. And pulling in. Steady in the breath. Oozing out any fight, fear. And then coming over to the left ankle and pulling in. Sighing away any tension. Oozing it out. Releasing any fight, fear. Coming liquid through the muscles. No more tension. And then both hands to the ankles again. And repeat that widening through the belly. Lifting the sit bones up. Letting the torso hang down. And we're going to step on the hands. So bring the feet more in line with the hips and bring the palms under the soles of the feet. So the toes are up to the wrist and the balls of the feet are in the palms of the hand. Your knees can be a little bent for this. And first we're going to bow. Getting oozy in the upper body. Deep breaths. And on an inhale, reach the head forward. And just like you were trying to pull the hands out from under the feet, but the weight of the body wouldn't let it, it brings a little tension into the arms, a little length into the back, and then ooze it out. And bending the knees a little bit to release the hands. Grasp the elbows. If you like to go back with the feet as wide as the mat, that's fine. And just start to turn and sway. Sometimes we call this a ragdoll. Inhaling through the nose and maybe sighing through the mouth. Oozing out any fight, fear. And just just come to center and just hang. Resting. And after we've been upside down like that in Uttanasana for a while, I like to come down to seated. I don't like to stand up. Sometimes it makes us feel a little faint. We're going to come into Baddha Konasana. We're moving on to that sumo kind of response for flee fear. So first we'll bring the soles of the feet together and spread the toes. And then we're going to weave the forearms under the shins a little bit so that the elbows can still press into the thighs, but that the forearms can lift against the shins and pull them up. So we get this little lock in the legs that feels very solid and stable and able to stay still like a sumo wrestler instead of fleeing away. Knees going wide, pelvis pouring forward. Staying lifted through the spine. Collarbones wide. Feeling nice and solid. And rise up. And you may be able to stay right where you are. I'm going to need to turn a little bit. I'm going to keep my left knee forward and extend my right leg back into pigeon. We might need to adjust a little bit. So come up on the ball of the back foot and walk that leg back so that the foot ends up more at the center line of the body. And then if you can put the foot flat on the floor without the foot sickling. See how my heel just turned out? If you can keep some straight energy in the foot, you can flatten it to the floor. Otherwise, keep your toes tucked. And check the angle of this front leg. When we come from another position like this, sometimes we put it too far. You might need to move that heel back a little closer in to the right hip crease, or a little forward so that you can actually feel it. Keep a nice flex in that front foot, come up on the fingertips. And we're just thinking of that sumo wrestler. So really rooting the pelvis down. Feel how the pelvis is square to the floor. Feel the solidity of the legs. The openness of the chest. No need to flee. We can stay strong and solid. And then bow, reaching the arms forward, forehead to the floor. You can use the floor to press the skin of the forehead back towards the eyebrows. Deep breath. Not going anywhere, staying that sumo strength. And rising up one more time. And then swing that back leg around and swap it out. Swinging that left leg back behind you, walking it towards the midline. Checking that angle of the front leg. See where it's going to feel the most comfortable and the most nice for opening the hip. The closer this heel is into the hip crease, the less work you'll have to do. The closer this front leg gets to 90 degrees, the bigger the task will be. So see what your body's able to do today, and then get solid and strong. Rooting down through the legs, feeling immovable. And Like that sumo wrestler, no more flea fear. Maybe flatten that back foot. And then bow. Pressing the skin of the forehead down towards the eyebrows. Squaring the pelvis. Feeling the solidity and rootedness of the legs. How that helps us feel solid. Just stay put. No fleeing. And rise up. And we're going to plant the hands, tuck the back toe, and come back into Balasana. So knees as wide as the mat, big toes together, forehead on the floor again. You can reach around by the feet or leave the arms out in front, whichever feels most comfortable. And then start to shake. Gonna get out of our freeze fear by bringing a little wiggle. You're not immobilized. Feeling the breath go into the back to turn off that fight or flight response. Feel like a little chicken and egg ready to crack out of our fear shell and emerge whole and capable. And rise up. Whew, that feels nice. And we're going to come into Tadasana again. Do a whole body shake. A kind of oozy shake this time. So your feet can be a little wider than hip distance apart, and just start to shake out your right arm. Just letting the weight and the dangliness ooze and shake it out. And then bring that shake into the right leg. And left arm. And left leg, shake it out. And then we'll move it into more full body. You may want to get on the balls of the feet and just bounce and feel how that shake goes through everything. And then bring it into the head and the neck. Whew. I shut my eyes and lose my balance. If you can't shut your eyes and it helps, go ahead. Otherwise, you might want to keep your eyes open a little bit. And then make it a little more wild. Bring your arms up a little higher. Shake the head a little more. Maybe shake the jaw. See if any sounds want to come out. Maybe some laughter. Not frozen in fear anymore. We're shaking it all out. Wiggling down. Shaking it off. Come to stillness. Woo! Feel the aliveness. One of the things that happens when we freeze is we often freeze the breath. Feel how that shaking has released the breath to be fuller. Ooh, no muscles frozen anymore. Alrighty, ready to go to the second side. So we're gonna come into an extended side angle. So I'm gonna step my, left foot out first, since that'll be facing you. So it's like at 12 o'clock. And then stepping back with my right leg so that the heel mid-arch alignment or heel alignment. And you want your feet really far apart, like 4.5, 5 feet apart. And then we'll bend that front knee so that we can see the big toe, maybe a couple toes after. And reach the arms out for warrior one, warrior two. Oops, warrior two. And then we're gonna bring the forearm to the thigh, but we're not collapsing, right? We're gonna move out of that faint fear. So if you can lift the elbow off and stay at the same angle, you'll know that you're not sinking into the shoulder, you're staying upright. And then we're going to sweep the other arm around and scoop in love and support. Sweep it around, recalling that God is here. I can talk to him anytime I need to. His love supports me. And he's given me all I need. And rise up. Angle the feet in the other direction. So now our right foot is turned out. Left foot turning in, bending that front knee. We don't want it to go past the ankle. So maybe scoot the back foot back if you need some more room. Then inhale the arms up into warrior two. See if you can see those toes first. And then bring the forearm palm up onto that front thigh. And this is the opposite of faint fear. So no collapsing and wilting and oozing into a puddle, but lifting up. And then sweep that top arm back and scoop in the love. Scoop in the support. Scoop in a smile. Scoop in that we're all in this together. Scoop in that God is capable. And he's got the whole world in his hands. And rise up. Angle the feet again. You might want your block for this. We're going to come into triangle and then move into Ardha Chandrasana. So we're going to bring our block off to the left side of the mat, left foot forward. And we're not stepped out as far as we would be for that extended side angle. So coming in a little bit. Check your back foot, see that it's either perpendicular to the front, so this is like 3 o'clock, or 2:30. But we're resting into the outer edge of that back foot, and then turning from the thigh and the hip, turning out with that front leg, turning in with the back leg. Arms come up, and then reaching forward. Get all the good stuff to scoop in. And then when you can't go forward anymore, hand can come down to the ankle or the shin or to your block, whatever feels better. And then reaching up. And think of something that you are needing from God right now. Some strength or support. See if you can call to mind what that is. Turning the heart so it's reaching up towards the ceiling. Reaching up and lifting our prayer requests to God. And then bringing down that love and support that we need. And placing it right in the heart. And reaching up any prayer requests we have for other people in our life that we may know that might be fainting with fear right now, and calling forth the love and the strength they need. Drawing that in. All right. And then bring that top arm into a bend with the hand on the hip. Turn and face that foot. And we're going to bend the back knee and start to hop it in and bring the block so that it's 1 foot forward and 1 foot over, and start to lift that back leg. And then if you've got your balance, flexing that back leg and reaching through the crown of the head, you can start to turn the chest and heart to the right, reaching the arm up. Turning the gaze can sometimes compromise our balance, so if you want to keep the gaze down, that's okay. But heart is turning upward. And then think of drawing in that love and support right into our heart where we need it. And then reaching back with that back leg to come back into triangle pose where you're getting your balance. Reaching up and then coming up all the way, angling the feet, bringing the block to the outside of the right foot now. We'll come into our triangle pose. So check your back foot, see if the weight's going into the outer edge of the back leg, outer edge of the back foot, and the back leg is straight, inner spiraling the thigh, outer spiraling the front thigh. Inhale the arms up, shoulder height, and then first kick that back hip back and reach the front arm forward. Hand comes down to shin, ankle, floor, or block, and then turning the chest and reaching up. And asking the Lord, is there anywhere you see me fainting and wilting? Anywhere that I haven't asked for your strength and your provision, for your support, for you to be there with me? And then finding those places where we need support and asking Him for that. And then taking that love and support and bringing it into our heart. And reaching up and out for other people who may be fainting, turning the heart upward, extending long through the neck. Who else do I know that is fainting with fear and needs some love and support? And asking for that on their behalf and drawing it in. And then bring that hand to the hip, turn and look at the floor and that front foot. And we're going to hop this block forward and over a foot. And as we do so, see how I'm bending that front knee a little bit and coming up onto the ball of the back foot so we can have a little balance. Then start to lift that back leg till it's parallel to the floor, flexing through the foot. And if you want to keep the gaze down, that's fine, but start to turn the chest. And if you have your balance, you can turn the gaze. Heart lifted, maybe gaze lifted, turning that heart upward, and then drawing that love and support into the heart. And reaching up again. And then bending that bottom leg and reaching that back leg back, so we can come back into triangle. You might notice that there's a little difference on both sides. Did you see I wobbled in the first side, but not in the second? For some reason, it's easier on the right. And then coming up. Whew. So I love scooping. And while we have our legs wide like this, we can come down into a wide-legged forward fold, angling the feet so the toes are a little more inward, but the arches are lifted, ankles are lifted, and reaching the arms up behind you, interlace the hands, and folding. Sighing out any tension. And bringing the hands down to the sacrum, Reaching the palms down the back side of the legs till they land on the ankles and pull in. And then right hand under the face, twisting up with the left arm. Left hand under the face, twisting up with the right. And coming down, back into that squat. And bonk. Cross the legs. We're gonna fold and reach forward. So right now I have my right shin in front of the left. You may have it the other way. Whichever way you have it, we'll just switch it at the end for the next side. So folding forward. Breathing into the back. If you like that little shake, you can bring that little shake into our fold. And walking the hands over to the left, right hand on top. Maybe shake it again. And walking the hands over to the right, left hand on top. Shake it again. And rise up, recross the legs. And we'll fold forward. Breathing into the back, shaking a little bit in the hips. Sighing out any tension. Walking the hands over to the left, right hand on top. Shake it out. Walking the hands over to the right, left hand on top. Shake it out. And back to center. And up. Whew. And we'll come on to the back for our cool down. Alrighty. And the last one, we just did 2 cycles of all our flowing opposites of fear, except for our last love scooping. So we're going to do a little bit of that. So bring the heels in close to the sit bones. You should be able to reach down and touch the back of the heels. And notice if the outer edges of the feet are turned angled out or angled in. And if they are, straighten out the feet so they're like railroad tracks. From the hip points to the knees to the ankles to the tips of the toes are all in one line. So we're going to shrug the shoulders under us to get a nice arch in the back. And on an inhale, sweep the arms up, keeping some space between the chin and the chest. And exhale, bring it down, scooping in the love and the support into our heart. And inhale, sweep it up. And exhale, draw it in. And maybe smile once you've drawn it in. Inhale, sweep it up. And exhale, scoop it in. One more time. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, scoop it in. And then draw the knees in towards the chest, hugging around the knees, and begin to rock from side to side. Could think of this as a love scooping too. And then bring the hands to the heads of the knees and begin to circle in one direction and then the other. And then keeping the big toes together and the knees wide, begin to arch the low back, drawing the knees wide and apart. And they come in and close. Wide and apart, come in and close. Another direction. Releasing fear so that we can ooze and flow or stand firm, shake off our frozen stuckness, and remember that we can scoop in that love. Then soles of the feet to the floor and arms out, shoulder height, palms up. And we're going to press in the feet to lift the hips off the floor, swing the hips a couple of inches over to the left and come back down on the right hip. Draw in the knees and let them fall off to the right, and then gaze goes to the left. Keeping that right shoulder down, that left shoulder down. Shoulders on the floor. If the shoulders can't stay on the floor, lift the knees up a little bit. If you'd like a little more, you can kick that top foot up and catch the toe, big toe, in your right hand. And then feel that top hip pulling down and away. Now release the toe, straighten the head, looking at the ceiling, lift the top knee, then the bottom. Square out the pelvis, press in the feet and lift the pelvis up. Shift the hips a couple of inches off to the right and come back down on the left hip. Draw in the knees and let them fall to the left. Gaze to the right. Shoulders pinned to the floor. Maybe kicking that top leg up to the left hand, pulling the hip down. Nice little IT band stretch. Just enjoying the twist. And then center the head, release the toes, lift the top leg, then the bottom. Square the hips again. We'll bring the right ankle across the top of the left thigh. Since we already did pigeon, I'm sure you're pretty open in your hips with all the sumoing and squatting and pigeoning. So draw in around that left thigh and pull in, pressing that right elbow into the right thigh and rock if that feels good. See if you can keep an arch in the low back by pulling the sit bones down towards the floor. Staying steady in the breath. And release the left leg, change. Now the left ankle's at the top of the right thigh, really flexing the foot, pulling the ball of the foot towards the face and the heel away. Draw in around the right thigh, pressing that left elbow into the left inner thigh. Get a little more opening. And if it feels good, rocking, pulling the sit bones down towards the floor to keep an arch in the low back. And release. And we're going to set up for Shavasana. So find the position that will feel best for you. So feet as wide as the mat with the feet flopped out. Heels are closer into the midline with the feet falling out to the side. Palms up. Arms are 45 degrees away from the body. Tucking the shoulder blades under slightly so they're flat against the mat. Tucking the chin slightly towards the chest so that the forehead is higher than the chin. Will help us quiet the thoughts. Let go of any patterned breathing. Feel the support of the floor behind you. Finding a space for your tongue, maybe behind the front top teeth. And then let go of all effort. I'll read for you again that beautiful, confident prayer of St. Patrick that he placed on the breastplate that he wore. I arise today through the strength of heaven, light of the sun, splendor of fire, swiftness of wind, depth of the sea, stability of earth, firmness of rock. I arise today through God's strength to pilot me, God's might to uphold me, God's wisdom to guide me, God's hand to guard me, afar and anear, alone or in a multitude. Christ, shield me today against wounding. Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ in me. I arise today through the mighty strength of the Lord of creation. Now deepen the breath. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. Begin to rock the head from side to side, making small movements. Inhale the arms up overhead till the thumbs touch on the floor behind you. Draw the feet together, pointing the toes, and come into a long stretch. You can hook the thumbs and reach the right fingertips and right toes away from each other as you squinch in the left side of the body. Then reach the left fingertips and left toes away from each other as you squinch in the right side of the body. And do a couple more of these fishy wiggles. And drawing the knees in towards the chest one at a time. Roll to your right side, using your right arm as a pillow. And using the hands to come up into a comfortable seated position with the eyes closed. Inhale the arms up overhead, palms come together at the heart. Father, thank you that we can shift out of fear. We can move out of fight fear and flee fear and freeze fear and faint fear and find our strength in you, our peace and relaxation in you. We can shake off the trauma of the past, shake off our present fear, and scoop up all the love you have for us. Lord, help us to shine fearlessly in this time. In Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you.